Alright, just doing a bit of cleanup on the old turbo. I'm just going to clean this area up here, see if I can get some of this corrosion off, and the grease and the oil. Already got these cleaned up, got the rust off. Be ready for the anti-seize when I get it in there. I'm not going to really touch too much here, clean that surface a little bit. And that's about the best I can do without disassembling. Alright, well, it's not perfect, but I think it's a sight cleaner than it was. Get all the mating surfaces cleaned up. Here, here, and here. Don't let that fall in there. So, no loose rust, scale. Took this off, pounded it out a little bit more, and cleaned it up. Didn't see anything really significant. Got that cleaned up. So, at this point, it's ready to go back on. I've got the inside cleaned up. I've got the new drain pipe here. This is supposedly the improved one, and it might be hard to see inside the plastic, but compared to the old one, like this, it's a little bit stouter. It's got a edge here and here, and this is a little bit longer, so supposedly it helps it stay in place easier when you're installing, and of course seals better. So we'll see how that goes here in a minute. Yeah, here you can see the difference a little bit better. It's a thicker metal. It's definitely heavier to touch or to lift, the weight of it, and you can see it's more reinforced here and here, and this is a stronger metal. And it is the right size, and of course we've got new O-rings, so we'll get those on. First step though is to get the mount reinstalled. And I have read that it's best to leave the mount installed but loose, so when you do install the turbocharger, you got a little bit of wiggle room to line things up. And we'll see how that goes. I gotta clean this mess up and get some foot room here so I can get up there and try to make this happen. Alright, for me, installing this turbo mount, I couldn't reach in here with my hand to screw the two bolts in. So what I did was, before I put the mount underneath the pipe here, I dropped the bolts into the holes in the feet, and then slid it under and just did it gently so the bolts stayed in the hole until I could line it up. Then I used a socket and extension to gently screw them in. This one I had to put a little swivel on to make sure it lined up straight up and down, because it was starting to go just a little bit crooked. You can see it right down in there. These, no issues. So right now it's attached, but it's loose. Here's the oil drain that the pipe's going to go into. You need to put the mount in first, because this flange, or this metal here, is going to rest on top of this. So you can't really put the oil tube in first. I'll lube that up and get it in there. But before I do that, I've been looking up here. I'm going to clean these up a little bit so it doesn't drop down in here, and then I'll get the turbo in there. And I forgot to mention, this is the bottom of the turbo. This is the port that lines up with the oil drain that's in the engine, and you want to make sure that that is super clean so the oil ring slips in quite easily, and of course it seals well. When I took this off, I saw that once again, it was evidence someone had used like a silicone caulking. I don't know what the heck they were thinking. I don't know why they couldn't just replace the O-ring. You know, it's like a $5 part. But it's clean now. But anyway, don't forget to do that. Get that clean before you get that thing in. All right, the next step, put on some anti-seize on the up and the down turbo discharge pipes. And also on the relevant areas on the turbo itself. So hopefully the clamp next time won't stick, particularly if I have to pull this off anytime soon. So after this, I'm just going to oil up that O-ring, try to guide this thing in without damaging too much. I'll be back. All right, we got it in. It is definitely harder to get it in than to get it removed. You got 4 things you got to line up: this tube, this index pin, then over here, this tube, and another index pin down there. I don't know if you can see it or not. And of course, also making sure that the drain tube and O-ring go in properly at the same time. So I guess 5 things you gotta line up. In addition, you gotta twist it and turn it a little bit and get the right angle so it lines up properly. And that's just bloody well hard. At least it is for me. That's all I can say. Like I said, I don't have gorilla arms, but I did find that once I did get it close to where it needed to be, I used a pry bar to make micro movements until I got everything lined up. That helped. Otherwise, I might have been doing some cussing. But it's in there. It's just sitting on the mount. I did tighten up the mount properly, and it's just sitting there. Tomorrow I'll bolt the turbocharger to the mount, reconnect the oil feed line, the electric, even though this connector kind of disintegrated. It was heat rot, as I call it, just heat degradation. You touch it and it crumbles. So I might have to zip tie that puppy once I get it in there. And of course tighten up the clamps. And I've got a new sleeve for the CAC tube, goes right here. That's coming from Oregon, so that's gonna probably not get here till next Thursday or Friday. And that's gonna be it for the turbo. Then I'm gonna replace this, get this properly tightened up. That wire shroud that got totally trashed. I gotta get these clips, locate those somewhere. Probably do that next week. And I think that will be it, although I did want to look at one cable that was over in this area that looked like it had been heats. Yeah, it might be this one. I have to look at it on the other side. I'll wait till I get more light. The light's kind of dying. So anyway, tidying up all the electrical, maybe rewrap a couple of those bundles, get some wire wrap, and we'll call it good for the engine at the moment. And then I'll start working on the exterior.